What's going on, football fans? Welcome back to another annual L2 NFL predictions video.
Alright, you know how this goes at this point. We have 30 seconds to explain each team and how we think they're going to do. We go from AFC East all the way to NFC West, and then we get to the playoffs. We say who's going to win in the playoffs. You'll get it if you don't know.
But enough talking, let's get straight into it. All the Jets have done over the years is proof that we can't trust them. So why should we trust them now? Okay, I hate to be that guy, but I feel when Tua probably gets injured and when the Dolphins collapse late in the season, I think that's what's going to make them miss the playoffs. This is the team I wanted to be the surprise playoff team because I love that they brought in Coach Vrabel to help improve Drake May, and this defense might be good under Vrabel, but I think there's a little too much competition in the AFC to make the playoffs. I don't think I need to go over why the Buffalo Bills are going to win the division, but I think what's really going to be shocking is if they actually win in the playoffs. Can't trust the Jets. Never, ever, ever. Not that anyone's betting on them to do anything this year, but in case no one knew, you can't trust the Jets. I love my team, man. I do. But they make me really mad. They're going to talk all this stuff about culture change. There's no culture change. It's the same thing. The fact that we're just now hearing, oh yeah, I actually didn't care last year. Oh, actually, we've just had fun on the ping pong table. What does that say about the culture? They got to prove something to us. Surprise, I have the Patriots as a playoff team this year in the 7th seed. I think that bringing in Mike Vrabel is going to be a good thing for them. It kind of brings back the old Patriots culture, but not like making it too old to where they can't do anything modern. And I think Drake May, you might see some improvements with some of his new weapons. I like the potential here. All right, Bills fans, I'm done. I feel like every year I'm always doubting you guys to win the division. I'm done. I give up. But you guys have to eventually prove me wrong about the playoffs. It's hard to lay a finger on what exactly is the issue in Cleveland. Is it ownership? Is Kevin Stefanski just not the guy? Obviously, having a lot of quarterbacks is not going to help them. Either way, it's a jumbled mess. With the help of Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, the Bengals just sneak a playoff spot at 9-8 in the 7th seed. However, I do have my questions about Zach Taylor, and I think there's going to be some serious hot seat debates after this season. Boy, the Steelers were busy this offseason with DK Metcalf, Jalen Ramsey. Of course, Mike Tomlin's going to get them a winning season. And I think the motivation for Rodgers to have one last good season is going to give the Steelers a good season. This is just the purple Buffalo Bills of like, we all know who this team is and we all know their quarterback is great, but where are they going to go in the playoffs? Look, obviously no one's surprised to see Cleveland here at last place, but I think they actually are kind of going to be fun to watch despite that because they got a lot of interesting stuff going on. Like, who is going to be this team's starting quarterback? Like, what's going to happen with Shedeur Sanders after all that hype and then what happened with him in the draft? And Deshaun Watson, I don't know if we're ever going to see him again. It's more just interesting to see what this team does with that dude. Everyone's kind of making fun of the Steelers because they think that this all-in approach that they're doing with Aaron Rodgers is basically going to get them the exact same results that they've been getting. And ultimately, it might not look like it's that different here as I got them as a 10-win team and in the wild card spot, but I actually do kind of respect what they're doing. I think that there's potential for this to be better than other years, but they got to show us that. 11 wins is probably going to sound a little hefty for the Bengals, but this is a team that should have won so many games last year, but their defense let them down. I guess basically what I'm saying is I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt this year that they're going to turn things around, but man, if they don't do it this year, I'm going to really start to question this organization. Let's be real, we love to give the Bills crap, especially me, about not winning in the playoffs and beating the Chiefs, but neither does this team. They have everything to do it. I want to see this team do it really badly. They just got to show us. It's just not the Tennessee Titans year. Too many unproven answers at everything. We don't know if Cam Ward is the quarterback. We don't know if they have the head coach in place. It's not a good year for the Titans, I don't think. This team kind of confuses me because I felt like with Anthony Richardson, they were heading in the right direction and then they just weren't. So with the downfall of how Anthony Richardson played last year, I don't think the Colts are going to be good. Maybe the record is a little too low, but they still won't be good. Missing the playoffs might be a little surprising to even myself, but let's be honest, the Texans underperformed last year, and there's a lot of competition in the AFC. Surprise! Even to myself, I actually wasn't expecting the Jags to make the playoffs either, but when I really thought about it, it really comes down to, 1, is Travis Hunter really the Shohei Ohtani of the NFL? 2, is Liam Cohen a better coach than we think he is? And 3, there's actually a lot of talent on this roster that I think people are sleeping on. This might be Duval's year. Obviously, this team is definitely too early in their rebuild to really do anything this year, but I'm rooting for the Titans. Cam Ward seems like a good kid, and, I'm just rooting for things to work out in Tennessee. It's just too early to say how good things are going to turn out in Jacksonville at the moment. Liam Cohen, look, we don't know if he's a good head coach or not. Travis Hunter, we don't know if he's Shohei Ohtani in the NFL or not. But whether they do good or not, they're going to be very, very entertaining to watch this year. Show us something, Anthony Richardson, because you definitely have the talent to be a really good quarterback in the NFL. Doesn't look like he has the work ethic for it, though. I don't think I really believe in the guy, man. I'm sorry. I have the Colts here with 7 wins. Let's be real, the Texans disappointed us a little bit last year. We thought they were going to be a little better than they actually were, but I still think this team is really good. I'm excited to see how they turn things around. I still think they have everything they really need in order to make a leap, and we'll just see how it goes, man. Maybe they'll be kind of like a small post-hype sleeper in a way. I think we got to give the Raiders another year before we put them into the playoff picture, but there's another part of me that knows that the Tom Brady effect is a real thing, and I do think bringing in Pete Carroll is going to mean something for them, so I'm not going to be surprised if they make the playoffs, but I'm not predicting it. Not gonna lie, man, I don't really think the Chargers are gonna have a good year, and I know what I'm about to say is such a lazy analysis on how I think this team is gonna perform, but they're just kind of the Chargers. Don't they always have these years where they disappoint? And plus, I think Justin Herbert is like a tad bit overrated. Every time I look at this prediction for the Broncos, I always think there's no way they're going to do that. But I also learned last year, you just can't really doubt Sean Payton, so I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Why am I here? It seems like any year that the public is higher on the Raiders, I'm personally not as high on them. But they'll be exciting to watch. I think that, bringing in Pete Carroll might be pretty good for them just culture-wise. Geno Smith is still a pretty good quarterback, and Ashton Genty is exciting. But, man, the Christian Wilkins stuff and just the overall, just in my opinion, I think they just still have a little bit of a ways to go. Sorry, Chargers fans, but it's just every year there's at least 5 teams that don't make the playoffs that made it the year before, and I feel like the Chargers are one of those teams that kind of scrapped their way in for the most part, and I just don't think I'm really buying it this year either. Oh no, don't laugh at your rivals, Broncos fans, because you're part of this group too. In fact, you more so scrapped your way in. I don't really believe in the talent of this team yet, but I like Sean Payton. If he proves me wrong again this year, then I guess we'll come back next year and change what I'm saying. But for now, I have you both at 8 wins. Now, I know you're probably expecting some kind of funny little quick response about the Chiefs here winning the division, but I actually do think the Chiefs are in a bit of an interesting spot, more so than people think. I don't know, man. I think everyone kind of knew there was something up with this team last year, and I think there's still kind of something up with this team this year. Not enough for them to not win the division, obviously, but I'm just interested. Do I realistically think the Chiefs are a better team on paper or performance-wise than the Ravens and Bills? At the moment, no. I am very surprised to see the downfall of whatever happened to Brian Daboll. Is it really his fault or is it not really his fault? Bringing in Russell Wilson is interesting, but it's not going to be enough to give the Giants a good season and potentially to keep Brian Daboll's job. I know it's always fun to make fun of the Dallas Cowboys, but you do have to admit that as long as Jerry Jones is in the building, they are going to at least put up a fight. They're going to be a frisky team, but they fall just short. I don't know if Dak Prescott is the quarterback long term, and their head coach is such a no-name. You might be surprised to see that the Commanders are only the 7th seed in the playoffs. I do think that winning only close games, at least the majority of the time, last year, does kind of show that they're maybe a little overhyped. But what's not overhyped is how good Jaden Daniels is. I don't need an analysis to talk about the Eagles, so instead I'm just going to show you this meme that describes Howie Roseman and how he gets away with these draft prospects.
You can't keep getting away with it!
I do feel bad for Brian Daboll. I think he's better than what the Giants have been, but the Giants are, I mean, there's literal proof, like video evidence, that they're in contention to be the worst run franchise in the league right now, and especially with the way this schedule looks. I'm sorry, Brian Daboll, it's not your fault really, but yeah, it's going to be rough for New York. Although I do like bringing in George Pickens, and they also finally moved on from Mike McCarthy. You know, I don't know. Like, I can totally see a world where this team is back to being a wild card team, but I think at the moment, all the hype around the Cowboys has just kind of died down, and the players are clearly getting tired of it too, because Jerry Jones doesn't seem to respect all his best players, and I think the players are starting to notice that, and they're starting to kind of want to get out of here now. Obviously, I like what the Commanders did in the offseason here. They saw what they did last year, and they're trying to go potentially all in here. We'll see how far that goes. But, to be honest, though, it's a very hard milestone for them to break because they way overachieved last year. So it's going to be a tough task for them to do better, but their roster is better than last year's. I don't got to record this one. In a very competitive division, the Chicago Bears don't quite make the playoffs, but they do put up a good fight with an 8-9 record for Ben Johnson's first year as a head coach. Caleb Williams will show some strides, and this team is probably going to have a much more interesting offseason next year. My least confident pick I have this year is having the Vikings miss the playoffs at 9-8, just because this coaching staff has proven over time that they are to be trusted. But I just have my questions about how is this new quarterback going to do? Okay, not a whole lot to say for the Packers here. We kind of know who they are. It's just, can we see more than who they are? All right, Detroit. Congratulations, you're having this amazing era with Dan Campbell, but you have to watch out. You don't want to be the NFC's Buffalo Bills and Baltimore Ravens of. You have that Super Bowl hype, but let's see you exceed past the playoffs and do something about this. I know, oh my god, what? The Vikings are not only last place, but they're sitting here with 6 wins? Look, man, at the end of the day, last year's Vikings was a big overachievement for them. They did not expect Sam Darnold to do all that. We don't know what JJ McCarthy looks like. He's kind of a rookie quarterback, essentially, and because of that, my expectations for them are definitely a bit lower. Third place here, 8-9 for the Chicago Bears. Decent season for them. I am excited to see how Ben Johnson does, and Caleb Williams, let's be real, he didn't look like the Caleb Williams we thought we were going to see, but I think it's because of all that pressure that he got from the social media, so I'm excited to see if maybe Ben Johnson finds a way to tune that down for him, and it'll be exciting to see how it goes. At 9 wins and not making the playoffs, the Green Bay Packers. Look, really, I don't know what to say about this team. It's just doing my game-by-game predictions. I don't know, whatever it was, I just had the Packers not making the playoffs, but my opinion really isn't that different about them. But I don't think their upside is like super high either, so. They might seem like they dropped off at least a little bit. I mean, losing Ben Johnson has to do something, but I think this Lions team still has a really good culture under Dan Campbell, and they absolutely still have the pieces to be a really good football team this year, and ultimately, I'm not expecting them to not be a good football team this year. Nobody wanted this job until after the Super Bowl was over, so they were booby cheeks. All the years of predicting the Falcons and how they're going to do for the season, this has got to be the most heartbreaking one for me. Let's be real. If Michael Penix wasn't on this team, I think the expectation and the consensus for this team would be so drastically different. And after this year, I'm going to be honest. I think Raheem Morris and Terry Fontenot are going to be let go. Now, the only thing I do have to admit about the Panthers is seemingly every year, I'm afraid they're going to take a lot of steps forward because it always seems like they're going in the right direction. This year specifically, Bryce Young has improved drastically. But despite all of that, clearly I don't think it's going to be enough to get them into the playoffs. Yeah, they lost Liam Cohen, but I think the Bucs have proven over and over throughout the years that it kind of just doesn't really matter. They're going to win this division. The New Orleans Saints, one of the least interesting teams in the NFL. No one is excited about this team. As much as I want the Panthers to eventually take that next leap, I feel like I've just seen the story with the Panthers so many times, man. Like, you always think they're going the right way, and somehow they're still as disastrous as they was the year before. So I don't buy it, Panthers. Not until you prove me wrong. Man, I don't know what happened to this team last year. I thought it was like a lock that they were going to win their division, and it was going that way. But enough about last year. I actually do have them with 9 wins, so I think that they're going to be a pretty good team. I guess what I'm saying is I expect Michael Penix to take a leap, but this team, they've got to just prove something to us, man, because same with the Panthers. They always look like they have something going for them, and it doesn't end up well. So prove it, Atlanta. Well, we've seen this story enough times in a row at this point. Bucs are going to win the division despite what anyone else in the division looks like or what they look like going into the season. This is the Bucs division until proven otherwise. I can admit that 6 wins is maybe a little low for the Cardinals because I do think Jonathan Gannon is probably a pretty good head coach, and Marvin Harrison, we're all hoping, takes that next step up, but I don't know if I'm as high on Kyler Murray as I used to be, and frankly, let's not overhype Jonathan Gannon here at the same time. Okay, it'll be really dope to see Sam Darnold do what he mostly did last year and have a surprisingly good season, but I do think that had a lot to do with how good that coaching staff was in Minnesota. Seahawks do have a good coaching staff, but they're not going to be as good to help Sam Darnold, and then the addition of Cooper Kupp is not going to help him much either. So in other words, Sam Darnold's not the guy. I was wise last year to believe in Sean McVay and make the playoffs, and I'm going to do that again this year, especially now that they picked up Devontae Adams. This has got to be the Two-Face villain from Batman. This is like a Two-Face villain for NFL teams. One side of this team could be the Niners that we always know, the Kyle Shanahan-led Super Bowl type team. The other side could be, this could be potentially a scary moment at the very least for the Kyle Shanahan era, and maybe Brock Purdy isn't as good as we think he is, and they're losing a lot of pieces, but I'm going to go with the brighter side of things for the 49ers. Man, I thought I had like the steal pick of the year last year when I picked the Cardinals to make the playoffs, and man, they sure made me look smart for like half of the season, and then they do what they do best and choke a really good start and not make the playoffs. So, not going to do that again. Man, I don't know. There's something about this Seahawks team I actually kind of like. I have them in the playoffs here. I don't know what it is. I think Sam Darnold's going to honestly kind of do pretty good here in Seattle. I don't think last year was a fluke. I think he did settle in, and yes, he had a good coaching staff and some good receivers to work with, but I think it's still pretty good here in Seattle as well. I thought the defense also played really, really well. I just think there's potential for Seattle to grow into a pretty good team here soon. Niners are coming in here in the playoffs still, but not quite winning the division. But yeah, man, let's not forget the Niners were battling a million injuries last year. They should still probably have the expectations the old Niners did now that they're coming back with those players. But we got to start having some talks about this whole Kyle Shanahan era if it still doesn't look like it's working. It's Sean McVay and Matt Stafford, along with the newly added Devontae Adams. I like this Rams team. We start the playoffs out with the ever so entertaining Joe Burrow versus Josh Allen playoff game. And I think it's going to go exactly how you think it's going to go. And as much as I love to root for the Buffalo Bills, sorry, they just never win in the playoffs. And yeah, we're going to be wishing for the Bills to do better next year again. We all love a divisional playoff game, and this one specifically is with the Pittsburgh Steelers facing the Baltimore Ravens. One of the more heated, if not the most heated rivalry in the NFL. That part is interesting, but what's not so interesting is the Steelers are going to get bounced in the first round yet again. So as much as Arthur Smith is going to utilize Jonnu Smith, and as much as Rodgers wants to come out on top, it's not going to matter. Sorry, Steelers. Okay, admittedly, the only reason I'm picking the Jags to win this game is because seemingly every time they make the playoffs, they overachieve by a lot. Look at how they had that comeback win versus the Chargers in 2022, I believe, and then their 2017 run. They're probably going to win a playoff game here. Plus, I don't think the Broncos' Bo Nix is like that great. All right, here we go. Another rematch of Joe Burrow versus Patrick Mahomes. And I just think you can spit as much information about how the Chiefs could possibly lose in the playoffs. Like, oh, they didn't play that great last year. Maybe they'll actually lose this time this year. I don't know. You can do whatever the hell you want. I just don't think it's going to matter. Until proven otherwise, I have Patrick Mahomes in the AFC Championship yet again. Okay, Trevor Lawrence's magical run ends here. Sorry, Jags fans. The Ravens do advance and get to the AFC Championship. But do I have them winning the AFC Championship? I guess we'll find out. Okay, so obviously everyone's going to be rooting for Lamar Jackson. Basically, anyone that faces the Chiefs, they're going to be rooting against Patrick Mahomes. And I would as well. And I think yet again, we're not going to get the result we want. Petro fans, it was all cute and everything that you made the playoffs, but hell no, you're not beating the Ravens. Steelers at the Chiefs. Rodgers' potential last dance here. Steelers went all in to try to make this different from all the other years that they made the playoffs with barely a winning season and trying not to be a one and done here. No, they don't change that at all. They lose to the Chiefs. Bengals at Texans for the first round here in the playoffs. Believe it or not, the Texans win. And that's probably going to sound really shocking at first, but the Texans the last 2 years have always kind of looked like they weren't going to have much promise by the time they get to the playoffs, but then they actually always kind of crush it when they get to the playoffs. And I guess I'm just expecting that to happen again here. Oh boy, the Bills being the number one seed does scare me as a Dolphins fan because if the playoffs have to go through Buffalo, that's going to be real tough. And the Texans are sure not going to be the team that gets that done. I mean, I don't know. To be honest, the Bills also always choke in the playoffs. But I still don't think the Texans are going to be the team that gets it done. This looks like it would be the conference championship round, but it's just a divisional. Chiefs at the Ravens in Baltimore. Of course, I know the Chiefs are known for being the team that kills it and makes the Super Bowl every year, and the Ravens are the ones that just can't seem to make it past that hump. But guess what? I'm actually predicting them to do it this time. I just feel like one of these days, man, they gotta be able to get past that next hump. And the Chiefs, there's something about them, man. I don't know what it is. Now let's be honest, this is the AFC Championship round that we all want to see as fans. The two MVPs battling against each other. These teams are ready to make it past the hump, man. It's finally not the Chiefs. Ravens at the Bills, especially with how last year ended. Oh boy, this is going to be a fun one. And I hate to say it, but Bills fans are really going to show out for this one. Ravens fans are probably going to be there too. One of these teams is going to have to do it. One of these teams. And it's not the Bills. All right, in the wild card round, we have a conference championship rematch between the Commanders and the Eagles. And I think it's going to be just as hard as it was last year. But it's also going to be the same result just because the Eagles are just kind of the reigning Super Bowl champs. Kind of hard to doubt them. All right, a divisional matchup. The Green Bay Packers versus the Detroit Lions. I think this game is going to go about how we think it's going to go. It's a frisky, fun little fight here, but I think that kneecap biting aura that the Lions have is like a real serious threat to all opposing teams, and it's going to bite the Packers in the knees. As much as I want to joke around and say that the Bucs are a pushover playoff team and they're there by default because their division is so trash, I will say that the Bucs are not a pushover team. Surely there's like a better reason other than the division is trash for why the Bucs always win the division. The Bucs are not that bad, and they might give the Rams a fight. But am I going to sit here and say they're going to give Devontae Adams, Matthew Stafford, and company too much of a fight? No. I did say earlier that the Lions are hoping they're not the Ravens or Bills where they like have Super Bowl potential, but they always lose in the playoffs. But I'm going to be honest, I think the Lions kind of need to prove they can reach a Super Bowl before I pick them to make the Super Bowl, to be honest with you. As much as I would love to see it, I'm just not really predicting it here, especially against the reigning Super Bowl champions. Lots of divisional games in the playoffs. The Los Angeles Rams versus the San Francisco 49ers. What the Rams have going for them is they have a lot of offensive weapons for the Niners to watch out for, and the 49ers have a really scary home field advantage, even if this was in LA, frankly. Like I said, the 49ers are the two-face of the NFL. There's a part of me that kind of thinks we could be sitting here and talking about how the Kyle Shanahan era is about to be over. And then there's another side of me that thinks maybe last year was a fluke and they're back to being the same old Niners we know them to be. I'm going to go in that direction and say the Niners advance to the conference championship game. All right, here we go. The Eagles versus the 49ers yet again. And really, this could go either way like usual. I will say, though, as much as I will want to laugh hysterically at seeing Kyle Shanahan fail to win a Super Bowl again, I do think the team is going to realize this could potentially be our last shot at trying to finally win that Super Bowl. And I think that motivation is what's going to get them to the Super Bowl. But do they win it? We'll find out. First round of the NFC playoffs. Niners at Lions. It's going to be in Detroit this time, and I think Detroit still kind of got it, man. I'm going to pick them to beat the 49ers here. Kyle Shanahan's going to be left with even more questions. Commanders at Rams for our next matchup. Like I said in the Commanders part of this video, it doesn't mean that them losing here makes them worse than last year. It just, they had such a big milestone to beat this year, and I don't think they're going to do that. But it doesn't necessarily mean that this team is worse. It just means they didn't go as far. I almost convinced myself to have the Seahawks beating the Bucs here, but I won't do it. Seattle to Tampa Bay is a long flight, and I just think the Bucs are a little more experienced at this point. So, fun season for Seattle, but Tampa Bay advances. Now, Lions at Eagles is going to be a really good one. I would say these are like probably what everyone's top two teams in the NFC are right now. So this is going to be a really fun one. Ultimately, I'm sorry, Dan Campbell, but I can't quite pick you to go into Philadelphia and beat the reigning champions. Eagles advance. All right, now the Rams at the Bucs for the divisional round. The Rams are a little more experienced than the Seahawks right now. And I think this is obviously going to be a tough one as well because this is a long flight from LA to Tampa Bay. But I also think the Rams are still a better team than the Bucs. The Rams go and advance to the NFC Championship game. And then here we go, the NFC Championship game. The Rams at the Eagles. This was actually a really fun divisional round last year. So now we're getting it as a conference championship round, and it's going to be a fun one. I think this is going to be a closer game than people probably expect, but it's still going to go the way people expect, basically, because I have the Eagles winning this game. Boring, but we're getting the Eagles in the Super Bowl again.
Yawn, I know, it's the 49ers and the Chiefs. Yawn, who frickin' cares? I know. But you do have to admit that this game is probably going to be very entertaining because the Chiefs are just the Chiefs. They're obviously going to want to win a Super Bowl. And the 49ers not only want to win a Super Bowl, but especially against this team in specific, you know there's going to be a lot of bad blood. And I do think the Niners are going to head into this game with that mindset of, this is probably our last shot. If we don't win this Super Bowl, Kyle Shanahan might be in trouble. Sorry, Kyle Shanahan, you're in trouble. Until proven otherwise, the Chiefs win the Super Bowl. I just can't doubt them.
And then the Super Bowl. Super Bowl 60, I have between the Baltimore Ravens and the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, the Eagles are not a surprise. They just won the Super Bowl last year. But the Ravens shouldn't be a surprise because, like I keep saying in this video, they're a team that should be able to do it. In my predictions here, I have a scenario where they are finally able to break that hump. And this is going to be a very awesome game to watch. And yeah, I'm doing it, man. I'm picking the Ravens to finally go past that hump. They brought in Jair Alexander. They still have Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson. Hopefully they have enough playoff experience at this point to stop being so scared when they're in the playoffs. I'm doing it, man. I think the Ravens are finally going to get past the hump and win the Super Bowl.
But those are our takes. Let us know what you guys think about it in the comments below.
Obviously, if you want to see more from us, click on any of the links down in the description below. We have plenty of other content we'd like for you to check out. If not, we enjoy you watching this video. Thank you.
Let's have a great season and enjoy the rest of your day as well.